Is it me or am I going crazy? I feel that all of a sudden it's Christmas and I'm celebrating New Year's tomorrow. Where is the time going? We're into September. Things are going fast. All of the there's a bunch of stuff that I'm trying to plan for, wrap my head around that's coming up, and I feel like it's all happening quickly. It's making me a little feel like I'm out of control. And I like to be manageable, but out of control. Lord. Anywho, let's get into it. Take 49. What's good, peacemakers? Welcome to another episode of the Piece4PeaceCrafting Podcast. I'm Michael, and this is my crafty corner of the YouTube universe. If you would like to find me in other places, you can do so by following me over on Instagram as Piece4PeaceCrafting or on Ravelry as Piece4PeaceCraft. And if you like music, you can check out the Spotify playlist at Piece4PeaceCrafting Podcast playlist over on Spotify. Welcome to any new viewers. There's been a few, so welcome. Hey y'all. Thanks for subscribing. If this is your first time checking me out and you enjoy the content, please feel free to subscribe. It is free to you and it helps grow our little community here. If you are returning, what's good? Welcome back. You already know what it is. All right, how's everyone doing? Well, I hope, or as well as you can be. Things for me are feeling a little wild. There's so much that's being talked about and planned and pushed for within the last time I spoke to you. And so I'm feeling a little, not overwhelmed, but is there a word for the point before you are overwhelmed? I'm that, whatever that is. So just trying to calmly navigate things so that I don't make myself feel like I'm out of control. Anywho, things for me have been good. Schools are going great. Now that we're in the full swing of school being back, I went to go see a concert, which was really cool. No, it wasn't last time. A few times ago, I talked about the new Florence and the Machine album, and they were here in Chicago, and so I got to go and see them live, which was amazing. It was my first time seeing them. If you like Florence and the Machine, if you've never seen them live, Florence's voice in real life is crazy. It's better than the album. Which for me, I love that when I'm oh, I really like this artist. And then I go and see them and the pipes are just there. It's great, here's my money. Thank you. Trying to think if there's been anything else. Oh, the Mystery Knit Along stuff has come out. I feel like that happened in the time since I've seen you. So I feel like that's another thing that's making me feel oh my gosh, I gotta get stuff ready because where's the time going? But there's time. There's 3-4 weeks until that even starts. Anywho, stuff's happening. It's all good. Yeah, we just keep pushing. Got some knitting done in that time. So, before we get into the knitting stuff, let's talk about two things. One, if Ravelry is accessible to you, you can head over there and there's a thread called Flash Your Socks. That a bunch of us are just trying to knit as many socks throughout the year that we can because we all wanted to. So you can throw in your finished socks that you've made this year into that thread. And I think my next pull will be at the end of the month. So once you put it in there, you're always up for something, because I just do it every 3 months. I pull a name. So the next one will be at the end of September, October, November. Yeah, at the end of this month. Oh, that's so fun. For just realizing that. So go ahead and drop your socks or flash your socks over there. And also, I am co-hosting the Westies Unite Cow with Kevin and Ray from Needles at the Ready. And that one is knit any Stephen West pattern you want. And that one runs until the end of November. So if you are planning on participating in the MCAL this year, then you can put that in there if you finish it by the end of November. If there's going to be 4,000 stitch bind off, maybe we'll all finish it together in the new year and we'll miss the the along. But if there's not, feel free to drop it in there. And yeah, it's been really cool seeing some patterns that people are doing, some older ones, newer ones. Some people are doing last year's MCAL. So yeah, that's been a treat to just like, oh, I should look at this pattern because I haven't looked at it before and see what that's all about. So those two things are happening over in Ravelry. If Ravelry is not accessible to you, feel free, if you're on Insta, to reach out to me, and we can figure out how to put what you're working on in there. If not, me and you can just DM and be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, I love what you're doing. Okay, I think that's it. Shall we get into some makes? Yes? Great. I have 1 FO and 3 whips that I've been working on, works in progress. So let's get into it. The first thing is what I'm wearing. This is my Once in Floral. It's done. Woohoo! I think I talked about this before, but I opted to make it short sleeved because I always do long sleeve, and I've never made a short sleeve sweater, and so I figured why not do it with this. And if I want, I have this much. So this is the Cloudborne high twist wool. It's a super wash, and they come in 50-gram hanks. And so I did a Russian join with like 3 at a time, and then wound them and did the Russian join and kept winding. So I got bigger cakes out of it. So if at any point I feel like, you know what, actually I want to extend the sleeves, I totally can, because I bought enough to do a full sleeve sweater. So I have enough to extend the arms later in the future if I want, but just finishing it, blocking it, trying it on to see if the fit was what I was really going for. All that worked out great. Let's talk about a couple of things. So the colors, obviously I don't really, I do remember. The flowers are oatmeal heather, the silver is silver heather, and the blue is stormy skies. Perfect. Got it. Nailed it. Okay, some roses and thorns for this FO. Let's do a sandwich. So this was a really good opportunity for me. I've only done stranded color work in a sweater. This will be my second time doing it. Is that true? That is true. So I really wanted to work on tension and trying to make sure it wasn't going to pucker and all that jazz. All the fun stranded color work things for people who are beginning to work on. So I really worked to make sure I was catching my floats, not all in the same line when I was catching them, if it was going to be extended for sort of long chunks of stitches. So I'm pretty sure I saw Aquila from a Left Knitter podcast talk about this, and how if you catch the flow in the same place every time, there is that extended length, then on the right side of the project you will see those where you caught it going down the outs or down the front of the garment. So she talked about mapping out where she was going to catch them, and so I did that. I wish I had the colorwork chart. I would like get to a row, dot out where I was going to put them, make sure it didn't line up with the row previous, worked my way through that. So that was another reason why the yoke took me a little bit longer, and making sure that the floats were fine, also making sure that it wasn't going to bleed through on the opposite side. Really helpful tip, and glad that I caught that episode so that I knew. This was a while back too, so like if you scroll through Aquila stuff, she made this, I believe she made it for her husband John, and yeah, it looks great. Like her version of it, the color's fabulous, beautiful. So I used that tip. I will say that I am pretty happy with how the color work turned out. There's like, so previously I'd like blocked it, let it dry, it got some of the puckering out, and then this time I soaked it a little bit longer, and then when I went to like actually block it, I like smoothed and spread it and did the whole thing. This is like I'm making bread. Everything out, and it lays pretty flat. There are a couple areas, I mean, it's hand knit, so it's not going to be perfect, that have just a pinch, but like I'm fine with it. The end result for me is I can't wait to rock this. I'm super excited about it. A thorn would be, for the collar, you have to do a sewn bind off, and I realized that I've done it a couple times before, and I've realized it's not my jam. But the great thing about knitting is that you can do whatever bind off you like. So I was like, let me just go with what the pattern says. I did it, and I was kind of like, I don't really know. I do think it looks nice now that it's blocked. It was just the process was a little iffy to me. And it was a good realization that I've come to. So in the future, if I see that, I can always substitute if I need to. The fit, so I did the, I don't know, 5th size, I believe. And I think that was like the 47 maybe? I don't remember. Nothing's in here with me. I think it's 47. And I'm a 42, 43. And so I wanted it to be bigger. Like I didn't want to do what my chest size was. I wanted it to be bigger because I wanted it to be a little more just like roomy, you know? That's the vibe I was going for. And I completely got that. And I didn't swatch for this, which I shouldn't be admitting. But I'm fine with that. Like I knew it was gonna be, I've done a couple of Max's patterns now, so I know that I am similar in gauge to him. It's the same thing with Stephen West. I've done enough of his patterns now where I'm like, oh, like I feel like my gauge is gonna be right, if not very, very close to. So I wasn't too worried about it. The only thing that I did know is that I was taking a chance because it is superwash, and I know just from hearing other people talk about it that has a tendency to grow a little bit more than a non-superwash. So I did take that into account too. So I was like, oh, if I do this size and I know it's going to grow a little bit, it'll probably be the fit that I like. And it is. I love it. I'm really happy that I did short sleeves. I think they're really dope. I did 3 of the decreases, so I just kept following the pattern, did 3 decreases, and then did ribbing for about an inch and a half, and then and then I did a sewn bind off. Even though I did, let me go backwards. Sorry, so much to talk about. The length that's written in the pattern, I was a little iffy on for the length of my torso. So I was chatting with Kevin and Ray on one of our like knit nights, and I can't remember which, said, oh, you should do the neckband and then try it on because that's going to pull it up. Because you start with just doing the color work and then you do the neckband later. So I got to a certain point in the body, stopped, got smaller needles, did the neckband, tried it on. It was time for, and I'm so happy I did that because it was time for me to do the bind off. Like it was gonna be where I wanted. Once I blocked it, perfect. So I'm really excited, or I was really happy that I did that. So if you ever are questioning, I say do that. And then, so I did the sewn bind off first, and then once I got to the sleeves later, I like kind of wanted them to just like match, like be a thing together. So I did a sewn bind off for those too. And definitely by the end of it, I was like, okay, this isn't my jam. But the hem of it is just a normal, well, not normal. It's a bind off hem pattern, which is great. So I'm really excited about it. I'm happy that it's done. I already have another sweater planned, which is crazy to me to think that I know there are people that are sweater knitters. That's like really their jam. And I always giggle when people are like, oh, I finished one and I cast on another one. And I'm like, that seems kind of like wild to me. But I already have my next one planned. And maybe the yarn is purchased and should be on its way. Let's just talk about it now. I'll just do this. So one of the things that I got since the last time I saw you was the newest issue of Pom Pom Quarterly. So this is issue 42. And this is the autumn issue for this year. Some really beautiful patterns in it. And I was flipping, okay, there's three things. I like, when I was flipping through, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to make this. So the first thing, the sweater that I may have already bought yarn for is, I believe it's called Maia, and this is by Emma Janet. You all. Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me. Stunning. So once I was like, okay, this color work is like going in the direction that I like. Maybe I can try, because I don't know how hard things are really. Maybe I can just try some two color all over color work for this. One of the dope things about this project is one, it will help me continue on this journey of wanting to do better color work. And two, there is some steeking involved in this. And I've never done that before. And so, yeah, when I was reading through, I'm like, oh, that would be fun because it would be a challenge for me. I'd be learning something new. So it got me excited to want to do this. It's a DK weight pattern, but I am gonna do it in a worsted and just swatch, see if I get gauge close to, and then go from there. It's a little bit oversized, so we love that story. And then the second thing that I saw that is like definitely a future cast on, probably, today's Saturday, probably this weekend, are these, hopefully I'm pronouncing them correctly, Kumiko socks by Yuka. Wait, let me find a better picture of them. Ah! And these I just thought were so fun and playful. Now there is some patterning on it. I watched a video for how to do, I think it's called a quilt stitch, possibly. So this little patterning on the top of the foot just seemed really interesting to me, and also the construction of the sock. Yeah, you like do the toe, then the bottom of the foot and the heel, and then you go back and pick up the instep of the foot. Anyway, it all seems very wild to me and like a fun construction of a sock that I would want to give a try. So those are future cast-ons because I decided that I needed another sweater project immediately. This is cool because it's going to give me a little bit of time because things have to be shipped and sent to me. So that's that. I love the sweater. I'm really happy with it. I'm probably, not probably, I am going to bring this to Rhinebeck with me. I know that people have been talking about going to Rhinebeck. I've never been, and I'm going this year. I'm excited for all of the ness of it, you know? So this will be one of the things that I'm super excited that it's finished and I can wear there, which seems weird to say out loud now. Like, I've talked about it with like friends, a group I'm going with, all that jazz, but I haven't discussed it with all of you. So it seems weird to now be talking about it, but it is a month away, so I can't believe I'm doing this. Anyway, really excited about it. Should be a good time. I've only heard good things, interesting things, wild things. It should be a blast. Okay, shall we get into... Let's get off that topic. Shall we get into what I am working on? All right, first up, let's do for the make along or the knit along. So I'm doing a lava lake, which, are you ready for my bad black and white photo? I know you are. Here's the lava lake. It's a 5-color shawl, fingering weight. It's done on, going back. I did these on the recommended needle sizes. So 3 for the ribbing and collar, and then 4 for the body. That's US. And this shawl is done on a 5. And I'm not going to take the colors out to show the balls of yarn, just because I don't feel like digging them out of the bag. But you will see them in the shawl. So let's untwist. Here's where I am. What's the front? Where's the front? Oh, here we go. All right, here's where I am on that. So the last time you saw this, I was here. There's my little green marker. And so I've added all the colors now. Ooh, please don't fall off. So I've done, quite a bit. And I've started, here you can see it here, the decreases. The decreases. So I'm more than halfway through the shawl, and I'm still really enjoying it. And now that I'm on the decreases, it's going faster because you have less stitches every time, right? So again, the colors are, I'll go through them really fast of what I'm using. This is Ryan yarn, and this came as a 5 skein set that I bought a while back. And it's 100%, wait a minute, let me not lie. It is, 100% superwash merino, 449 yards for 100 grams. And that's the little tag for that. Really loving it. So again, it starts with this lighter color, which is called Daffodils and Cream. And then that fades into some more like yellowy greens, which is Beekeeper Sam, which then goes into more greens and browns, which is Backyard Moss, which then goes into this greeny green, which is Forest Boy, and then this brownish green is the tree that owns itself. And so because there's, maybe I can do this. Perfect. Because, oh yeah, that's nice. Because there is not a lot of this color, I have a ton of it left. And the rest of them will fade out going the other way. Now, I think people who have done this, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that when you get to the second half of it, the fading of the colors becomes slightly different. But in the pattern, it says, like, you can just follow the guide that's written for you and do that if you want. So I wanted it to be more symmetrical, or as symmetrical as I could. So I ended up continuing the way that I started and just doing it that way. And And I like that. So now it's like 2 green stripes over here, 2 green stripes over here. But I think it's really cool. I'm loving it. I think, oh no, these greens and yellows, browns are gonna be really nice for y'all's favorite season. Fall, autumn, you know the vibe. Yeah, I'm loving this. I think it's really great. I know I've said it before. Other people have said it. It's, I personally think, a great beginner pattern. You don't need to know much. You need to know how to knit. You need how to do a purl and a yarn over. Oh, and a decrease. Which, like, honestly isn't a lot and super beginner friendly. And I think it makes for a fun, dramatic impact. Also, you don't have to use 5 colors. If you have a bunch of a solid, still going to be stunning. If you have mismatch, it's not a fade, still stunning. Like, do you. That's the joy of you making things for you or for other people. You're like, oh, you know what? Cindy would like this in all blue. I'm going to make it for her in all blue. Chuck, on the other hand, only likes purples and, I don't know, teals. Make it striped. Do what it do. Make it scrappy. I bet it would be amazing. Anywho, that's my lava lake. Loving this. Always in a beautiful sister bag. Oh, look, there's Mr. Rogers. We love. All right, next up. I finished this. Oh my gosh. Okay, here's me being ridiculous. I finished this sweater and then I was like, oh, remember when you started that Earth and Air? I'll pop a picture in here, by James N. Watts. And you, for whatever reason, just stopped working on it. So went back to this project bag, another beautiful sister bag, and picked it back up. This for a couple days was my like bus knitting. I know, brioche on the bus, questionable. So first off, I'm doing this in, let's all remember, in KnitPicks Wool of the Andes. And this is worsted weight, and cobblestone heather is my main color. And then my contrast color is the KnitPicks Aloft in Kanai. So these two together. I test knit this for them and loved it. Made it in a size that was my chest circumference. So it was a little more form-fitting, which is fine. But it wasn't the vibe that I wanted from the garment in the photos that I've seen from both James and other people that have knit it. So I gave my test knit to my roommate and she looks amazing in it because it has like a lot of positive ease on. Yeah, it has about 10 or 11 inches of positive ease on her. So it looks fantastic. So I'm redoing this. Literally the exact same colors because I had a bunch of that yarn. But now I think I'm doing the size 50 chest for sure. I think that's what it is. So the last time you all saw, I meant to put a little marker in. I only had like 8 rows done. Now I have more than that. So this is, oh, I can just hold it because it's got stoppers on it. This is the Earth and Air. It's bottom up. So I'm just working my way through. And again, I love it. It's so fun. And it works up quick because it's done on size 10 and a half US needles. So it's great. It's working up quick. I'm gonna lengthen the body just a little bit. I believe the pattern, if I remember correctly, is written to be slightly cropped. So I'm probably gonna add about 2 to 3 inches on it, just so it sits where I want it to. And yeah, just keep plugging away at it. I'm really liking it. I think the colors are great. My roommate and I will now have matching sweaters, which is funny. we'll have to go like apple picking and take photos in them. Yeah, so there's not much to show. I did make some progress on this. It was really nice to pick it back up and take it on the bus with me, which is wild. There were a couple times where I was like, you know, sometimes all roads aren't smooth, where, you know, you hit a bump or something and I'm like, why did I pick brioche to bring on the bus today? But at the time, it was the only other. I didn't want to bring that shawl because it's like a little bit big, and that I can have in a smaller bag and just throw it in my backpack and hit the road. So that's that. All right, last up, when I was leaving the Florence and the Machine concert, I packed a little sock project because I didn't want to be bored on the bus. And on the way there, did I work on it on the way there? Oh no, on the way there I had to stand, so I couldn't work on it. So, when I was leaving, got my bag back, I had to put it in a locker. That's a story for another day. Because you like can't take like little bags into places anymore. They have to be clear, FYI. So I brought this KnitPicks Felici in the color Bayou. And so I have two of them. They're 50 gram hanks or skeins, balls, whatever you want to call them. 75-25 superwash merino, nylon, and how much do you get in it? I should know this. I use this a bunch. 280 yards. So I started the toe of these that night, actually up until where this little marker is. And then yesterday, I had some time to kill before some of my kids had a little assembly. So I just sat and worked on it until it was time for that. So here's where, not you being twisted around the thing. Here's where I am with those. These are done on Chaogu US 1s. Okay, those don't want to lay straight. And yeah, I'm doing them toe up. I increased to, oh my gosh. So I was on the bus, it was late. I think I cast on, I wasn't even thinking. So I did the Turkish cast on for these. And I just, with that one, you like wrap the yarn around however many times before you go to knit across. And I think I only did 13 wraps instead of doing like 14. So at one point I was counting to see where I was, like with my increases. And I'm like, why am I a stitch off? Oh, I cast on an odd number. So I had to sneak a stitch in one of the rounds, one of the increase rounds, to make it work. And it did, it's fine. So that's where I am with these. Yeah, like this little, which I know isn't a lot, but it's 2 socks at once, so maybe it is. I went from here to up here just yesterday in a couple of hours while I was waiting. And I love these. I think they're going to be fun, little greens and blues. And I can't tell if this is black or like a really dark, I think it's black. I'm saying it's black. It's black. Now, these are just going to be vanilla socks, but I do think I'm going to try is it called the Magic Heel? I've been seeing Lisa of 72 Stitches. Or no, yeah, she's 72 Stitches on Instagram, Knit All the Yarn podcast here on YouTube. I'll link her and Aquila below. Everything I'm talking about is linked below. Do the Magic Heel, so it's like some sort of ribbing vibe for the heel. Yeah, just because I want to see what that one's all about. And then, since I won't have to save any yarn for the end to do an afterthought, or increase to do, what is that, like a Flegel heel or something, I can just go straight. So kind of like knitting a tube. I can use most of the yarn, which will be really dope. And I'm thinking about maybe giving these to my roommate because he and I have the same shoe size. And it'll be good practice to be like, oh, if I don't know someone's size, or I know the size, but I don't know how their foot fits in hand-knit socks, maybe these might be a good option. Because when my sister was here, she went through this and picked out a skein of yarn. I think one of my hand spuns has a little nylon in it. I was like, oh, can I get some socks out of these? So if this heel works out, then I can do that for her, even though I know the size. I don't know the actual shape of her foot. Like, we forgot to like trace it out and do that whole thing. So that's that. Okay. Exciting. All right. Last thing I want to show is, so because, sorry if you can hear the little crinkling, because the MCal is coming up, I decided to buy yarn for it. Now, if you have been with me for it's almost been 2 years. Like, our podiversary is coming up at the beginning of next month. Oh my gosh, in a month. Crazy. So if you've been with me for the 2 previous MCals, you will know, or I will remind you, that I like using Murky Depths. One of my favorite dyers. Her sense of color is just like right up my street. Love it so much. So I was going back and forth with colors. For a while I wanted to do grays and orange, and then I realized that Kevin and I are just like making all of the same things, which is fun because like the purpose of these is to inspire people and to get inspired from others, right? Like, oh my gosh, I love that. Like, I want to try that. Oh, that looks cool too. But when I was looking at colors, she didn't have like what was in my head for a palette in a single space, because I know when Stephen was showing them, he was showing them in single spaces. So all that to say, I've changed my vibe, sort of. So now I'm still using an orange. It's my favorite color of hers. And here is my palette. Wait, 1 second. What? Okay, so these are all Murky Depths on her Harbor base, and that is 100% superwash merino. I can't speak today. Merino in her single fingering, and it's 400 yards for 100 grams. So it's 2 shades of green. Like, this is super saturated. This is like a wash. And then this like rusty burnt orange red color. So this one I know is Picante because I've used it a bunch. Actually, if I remember for next time, I did the Chrysler shawl and this in a gray. And then this one is called Celadon, and this one is Destroyed. So these 3 are going to be these 2 have 2 skeins each, and then the pop of color will be that. So that's fun and exciting. Yay. I'm happy to start that. And then, because I'm extra, I was talking with, who was I talking with? Oh, maybe my roommates. And they were excited. The MCal's coming up. They're like, what colors are you picking? It's really nice to live with people that like enable and support and encourage your crafty habits. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to look at Murky Depths again because I've done the 2 Mystery Linaloons that I've done already in that. And so I think what I'm going to do is whenever it's a new one, I'm going to use all Murky Depths, and then, you know, as I'm going back and knitting some of the older MCal shawls, those can be whatever. Like, I did a Star Flake, and I used Blue Fiber Co. Yes. It was like neon blue and yellow. And so I also picked up, in thinking in that same vein, this is her deep sock, and this is 80 Superwash Merino 20 nylon, and this is in the color New Moon. So it's a light gray, really pretty. And I think I'm gonna pair that with these 2 Knit and Bro colors to do, at some point, not anytime soon, to do the doodler. Because I think that's 3 skeins each. Or no, not 3 skeins each. Lord, that would be massive. It's just a 3 skein shawl. So I as I was getting those for the new one, I decided to pop this one in my cart too, so that I can combine them with these 2, which I think is a really fun and cool palette. Yeah, and I've never used Knit and Bro, so I'm excited to finally at some point get those on the, okay, pause. This might have to go on the needles soon. So these are 70-20-10 superwash merino, 20% yak, 10% nylon, and it's 437 for 100 grams. So yeah, these 3 are going to be bomb, and I think really beautiful together. So at some point, those will get knit up all together. And I think that concludes all the fun yarny stuff. The last thing I want to talk about is a little music recommendation. And before I get into it, a little programming note. Last time I recommended In the Lonely Hour, which is a Sam Smith album, and I mistakenly, and usually I'm really good about going and checking these things, I use the wrong pronouns for them, and so I want to correct myself and say that their album is great, and if you haven't checked it out already, you should go and check it out. Yeah, this space is inclusive to all, and so if I missay something, let me know, folks. I love learning and correcting. So with that, go check out their album In the Lonely Hour. I recommended some songs last time that you can check out from there or from them, and yeah, the album's great. So this week I am gonna go back. I think I'm actually repeating not the album but an artist, which hasn't happened yet. But my reason for doing so is last time I was talking about how I was reading The Memory Librarian and other stories of Dirty Computers, or from Dirty Computers, I believe. Anyway, it's a book of short stories by Janelle Monae, and the second author escapes me. But it's sci-fi, Afrofuturism, stories playing and talking about, I can't even get into it. You should just go look it up. It was a great read. I loved it. I finished it yesterday, the day before. Yesterday. I finished it yesterday, which then led me into a rabbit hole of going back and listening to some of Janelle's first albums. I think I got through... Does she have 4? I think she has 4. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, maybe it's 4. Maybe it's 5. I think it's 4. Anyway, I listened to the first 2.5. And so as I was doing so, I was just really in a mood. I was feeling some type of way. Finishing this book, I wanted to keep living in that futuristic world. And so this week I am going to recommend her 2010? Yes. 2010 album, The ArchAndroid. I mean, look at her. She's stunning. This album is great. Also, this photo of her on the back is stunning. She's just a little queen. I live. This album is great. The songs that I would recommend from here are... This is hard. Oh, no, it's not. Yes, it is. I'm going to do 4. Faster, Cold War, Tightrope, and Babapaya. It's the last track on the album. So I'm going to recommend those 4. So Faster, Cold War, Tightrope, Bayapapa. This album's great. Some of the musical interludes are really beautiful. The orchestration of them are really lovely. And she's from the future, so support. Anyway, check out Janelle Monae's The ArchAndroid. It's a great album. I really love it. And I think that's it for this time around. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your day to sit and hang out with me. I hope you are working on all of the crafty things. Even if you're not, just sitting and hanging out. I definitely do that sometimes. I'm like, I can't even bother picking something up. I just want to sit and hang out with my friends on YouTube. Oh, yeah, for any other craft podcasters that are watching, we in this community just called y'all, us, friends. So hanging out with my friends, sitting on the couch. I just want to chill out with fill in the blank for a little bit. And then maybe that will get, okay, cool. My juice is going. I'm like, great, let's pick something up. So thanks for hanging out with me for a little bit. And I hope you are doing all the crafty things again and enjoying the changing of the weather wherever you are. For some of us, it is still really hot in the 80s and slowly creeping into those cooler, it's definitely cooler in the evening, which is lovely. Those cooler days, and the reverse for our friends in the southern hemisphere. So that is fun. I think, what are we all going into? Spring. Oh, lovely. Anywho, I hope everyone's doing well and continuing to be as well as you can. And until I see you all in the next one, make a piece, spread some peace.